of Kate Middleton, the Duchess of Cambridge, who's been in the company of the First Lady. They've been out to a school, and then they will be there this evening as well. And as I say, at this dinner, Prince Charles introducing 10 top CEOs to the G7 leaders, all of them involved in sustainable ways of producing and manufacturing. And obviously tonight, that is really the main focus of the Eden Project, the biggest indoor rainforest on Earth. Right. We've been talking a lot about what we will get out of this G7 summit, but how do we know that what is promised will actually be delivered? Well, with me is Denisse Rudich. She is the director of the London office of the G7 Research Group. So you are the people that look at the promises. You go away, you study, and then you decide whether they're actually delivering. Is that right?
That is correct. We basically put together a briefing book for the G7 Summit every year, and we have analysis of performance of G7 countries' compliance with different commitments around the world. And we have a team of students out at the University of Toronto with the G7 Research Group who basically spend all year long following international affairs and domestic affairs to see how well countries do with these commitments.
Yeah. I've seen your huge brochure, which is in the media centre for distribution. Do you score these countries?
Absolutely.
So who's currently top, who's currently bottom?
So this is definitely a bit of an unusual year because a lot of the commitments that were made earlier at the virtual summit that was held in February of this year have to do with COVID. So it being a global pandemic, leaders have had to kind of step up their game and countries have had to step up their game. So they're all basically achieving above average scores at, I will be technical here, over 94%. Italy and Germany at the top.
But they're unreasonably cynical because actually they are delivering.
They are delivering. Normally compliance is about mid-70%. And usually the UK is at the top, which is fantastic. Italy tends to be historically at the bottom, except for the last 4 years when the US took that crown.
Why is a G7 important? Because let's face it, the big countries, China, the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, they're not here. Does a G7 set the trajectory, the direction for the G20 summit, which comes later in the year in Rome in October?
Absolutely. So even though these other massive global economies are not part of the G7, the G7 are come together. They're united by their shared values such as democracy and human rights. And when you get the group of 7 countries that, they are still, some of the largest economies in the world, working together, they do tend to kind of set the global agenda for the next 5-10 years, depending on the issue area. And then it's a lot easier to kind of get others on board. That doesn't mean that all other G20 countries are going to be submitting or complying with the commitments that are made or agreeing to the policy decisions that are made here, but it's a lot harder to say no.
Right. And so we'll get more numbers over the course of the next few days. Does that mean your brochure is out of date as soon as it's published?
Oh, I hope not. But, there is a little bit of work that goes. That's right. G7 symmetry all the time.
Denisse, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
So what's this been like then for the locals, to have the world's biggest leaders come to town? I'm joined now by John Bullock. He is the proud chairman of the Falmouth Rugby Club, which is very close to where we're standing. John, good to have you on the programme. In the last few minutes, we've just heard that there's been a small outbreak of COVID-19 on one of the